African dialect. I agree with you.
Thank you.
There's no debate. I didn't know that Hebrews thought that the dialect wasn't of African culture.
No, I know you didn't. I know you wouldn't say that. I can tell the way you read.
All right. And even in the Paleo Hebrew, when you look at it, it was found in the Sinai Peninsula in the Egyptian slave mine, and it was created. It was made by the laborers, but it was also 42.
I have a problem.
All right.
That's not a slave mine. That's a temple of Hathor, and these are not.
It was a coal mine.
Right, okay, they're mining, but it's not a slave mine. Where is your record that says it's a slave mine?
It's a coal mine. A coal mine. Coal mine.
Slaves.
All right, coal mine. Right. Don't think that Egypt didn't have slaves though.
Prove that point.
All right, you go to the Brooklyn Papyrus, or you can go to the Shifra Papyrus. Look up the Shifra Papyrus, and they had lists of Shemitic slaves. Now the way listen to me, hold on. The way people avoid that question is because they say that there's no Egyptian word for slave.
I'm not avoiding.
But it's the same. No, I'm saying people in general. But it's the same thing with Hebrew. The Hebrew word for servant and slave is the same word. It's the same thing in Egypt. Because those who work for other peoples are slaves or servant unto them. So I'm not talking with the Slavs when you talking about whipping their
back. So that's why you know what? So that's why I agree with you. That's why we shouldn't use that term.
All right, that's true.
When we're in this room here, slave, we thinking generational, murder, rape, pillage. We not thinking about servitude or service industry.
But there are times in each empire where servitude does turn into the meaning of the word. Or the later on definition of the word slave. Huh?
Well, I haven't seen that. I've seen if you go on working parties, prisoners of war, criminals.
Prisoners of war, what?
But even America, watch this. Even America, when they get a prisoner of war, when they get a prisoner, they don't treat them like a slave.
What do they do?
Europeans, those Europeans.
They're not going now.
What about Guantanamo? What are you talking about? Guantanamo and all of that.
Yeah. What's that? They just lock them up and they're not treating them like slaves.
They lock them up and waterboard them.
Yeah, they did.
They told you.
Yeah, okay, brother. Yeah, brother.
Yes, we do. Let's read the life sentence.
No.
The military. Yeah, you been
For the record, you will not give me the final side of your opinions. I know what you're saying.
I'm right
about that.
I agree 100%. And I will come that veteran. And I say that with humility.
Right.
But at the same time, if it wasn't for us being there, they've been going to kill us off. If it wasn't for us being inside, they've been destructive by nature.
Right.
So hey, that's a good point, though. You're right. The Hebrew word for slave might not have been the same. You know what I'm saying?
Because I've seen people put posts up with the Bible condones slavery. Now it says in the scriptures say if a man hits a servant, he gives him lashes because that was the punishment for everybody. It wasn't just a servant punishment; it was a man's punishment. The Hebrews did not believe in locking people up and holding them. Either you received your lashes or you made back payment due to whatever was going on. So when our punishment is just like when you beat your child, you give your child lashes. Now in the scriptures it says that if you beat your servant, and it is what it is. But if you beat your servant and he dies that time, the blood is upon you. If you kill him, the blood is upon you. But they take the part where it says, if the servant survives the next day and dies, then the blood is not upon the master, is because the Hebrew interpretation is there was no intent to kill and it was an accident. You understand what I'm saying?
You find that in the African record? Where they give you an actual way to treat a servant or a slave? You see that?
You can look at it under Brooklyn Papyrus, which is a medicine papyrus. It's a medical papyrus, but they show you how to treat servants and different things. And there's servitude all throughout Egypt.
I totally agree with you on that. I would not disagree, but I'm saying when you start saying slaves.
Okay, well that's we leave that word. We leave that word alone. We leave that word alone. Okay.
Question: how does that play? Now we were in servitude in Egypt.
I don't believe that.
For so many years, and that's what I want to get an understanding of how you're going to defend the fact that we were slaves in Egypt for X amount of hundreds of years. So,
all right,
a little over 200 years.
All right.
That's a good question.
The question is, and you don't believe we was in servitude in Egypt?
No.
Or you believe they was?
No. Watch this. Hold on. Watch this. Absolutely, positively not. Not under the word of Israelite or a Hebrew. That's what I'm saying. Now, do I think that the tribe or the descendants of Israelites were in Africa? Yes. You have Asiatic tribes. Yes.
In Egypt.
Brown tribes. Yes, they're brown. They're not white people. Like you said, the predominant of the planet is the brown planet. All right? But where we get the problem is, just because you're a person of color does not mean you're an original. It simply has a lot to do with the skin map. Look up Gibraltar. And depending on what zone you live in, you got zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. If you're in zone 3, you're in the tropics. Okay? If you're in zone 2, okay, you're moving out of the tropics, and your skin changes depending on the time of year. I mean, you can brown up and lighten up. If you're in zone 1, you're on an ice cap. This is because of UVA rays. Does not mean the Hindus aren't African, but their skin can be just black because of the zone they live in. And so that's very important. So the question is, did the Hebrews in servitude in Egypt? And I say, absolutely, there is no record to date of any Hebrews or Israelites being in Egypt. You got one mention of it, and you should know that the men of Charles Steve. And they say,
but that's
that's right. They say, but this is at 1200 BCE. Okay, I don't know what date you give for Moses, right? And it's mentioned one time. I have a problem with a nation of 3, 4, 5 million people, and you got one word. See, that's my problem. That you got one mention, and it's in a fight. That's terrible for me. That's not enough.
You said again, one mention because it was in a fight.
No, they was in a fight. He said he wiped them out. Limbatar said Israel is not.
Yeah.
That's it. But that's only one.
That's because when Israelites came in to Egypt, they wasn't a nation. So they never was mentioned as a nation or a collective group. They were a group of settlers. Now, if you asking me, I'm telling you that Israelites didn't leave out in the millions. Because the word Aleph, which they translate down to, also mean clan members.
I'm with you.
So I'm not denying that. Okay. But what I'm saying is, there's in the 12th dynasty during Sisrosis, there's a numerous amount of listing of Asiatic people who were under servitude on the Shifra papyrus.
For sure.
And that's what I'm saying. And half of them people were Asiatic, and they came in and they were under servitude.
I totally agree with you.
All right.
But they're still not mentioning this thing Hebrew. That's my point.
Oh, you might not find the word. You might not find the actual word Hebrew. They classify them. They only going by names.
Hebrew.
They going by names. Or Eber, Hebrew, whatever you want to say, Hebrew. They're going by names. And that's how you look at it. They're not saying these group of this, because even in the Shifra papyrus, there's Kemetic names and there's Asiatic names.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm telling you. You're not saying, oh, when we had the children of Israel in captivity, that's not what it was saying, because it was a collective group of people that came in together and they were assimilated along with one another.
I'm with you.
All right?
So they ask this question though, because he stuck on it thinking it was like
I'm not stuck.
Hebrews. You kind of said that.
Well, that's not. Oh, I know what I'm speaking about.
What was you speaking about?
I was talking about the fact that, you said you were not in Israel. And I said we were in Israel for over 200 years. Semitic people. Egypt. For 200 years, as Semitic people. And you said that we were never there.
Right, under that name.
But like you said, we were a nation. We were called Israel because our forefathers stayed in Israel. We became the 12 tribes of Israel.
Not doing that.
During that time, that's when we went into Egypt. During the time when my ancient forefathers were settling them when they went into Egypt. And from there they grew.
How do you prove that though?
Through my scriptures, brother.
So, and that's my problem. And what this brother's doing is he's
going to go further.
No, he's triangulating though. And that's very important. That's a lesson for other Hebrews, that you must triangulate, because the Bible, it's not fair, right, to make the Bible the book.
Well, brother,
you get it? For y'all it is. For y'all it is. This is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because if you say that's your ancestors, right, by all means, your ancestors' work should be the primary source of how you recognize your ancestors. I get that.
I already told you.
I get that.
I'm not a scholar like he is. I'm an elder. I have a lot of wisdom, scholarship in terms of my history. I don't have that. But I do have the scriptures that with all my heart and soul, I believe it to be true. So that's all the reference I need.
That's not enough for the new Hebrews to come along.
I hear you.
That was enough for you. And you know what? We come out of your loins.
That's why we have young boys
We
like
come
that.
out of your loins, right? And then the young lions step up.
Well, that's what we have young lions.
Right, but I'm saying your methodology ain't there. You got
young lion back there who's very knowledgeable. We have a lot of young lions. I don't have to be a lion. You know, I'm numbered. So I like being numbered.
Nah, you is a lion, though.
Okay, one of the things that we have to do is we ask where's our correlation with the whole biblical timeline inside of Egypt, right?
That's where we at.
Now the problem with finding that is because what happened is people, even the European or biblical philosophers, have accepted the Egypt chronological order. So they try to find themselves inside the midst of the chronological order when they don't know how the chronological structure happens. But when you look into the 12th dynasty and you look at Lahum and El Daba, these areas, you see numerous amount of Shemitic people, and Shemitic people that left behind their houses, their work, and their utensils, and just vanished out of nowhere.
What part?
Huh?
Where they at?
El Daba. El Daba and Lahum, that's in the Delta.
Near the Delta, absolutely. That's
Okay.
a high Asiatic.
And this is what I'm saying. So when you're asking me to correlate it, well, I want to correlate to you. I would say Joseph was more than likely either Mentuhotep or he was either the servant Amadi.
You can't do that.
Why I can't do that?
I am Hotep.
I didn't say I did not say I'm Hotep. That's what other Hebrews say.
You say remember Hotep? So okay, where is your?
Because my chronological order is Abraham is during the time of Khufu.
You said Old Kingdom.
Old Kingdom. And how I bring it in?
Give me a date.
I would say, let's say 2000 BC, 1900 BC. And the reason why I put Khufu there and I explained it with the chronological order, all of the scholars now are converting and breaking down, even carbon dating, saying that there is a problem. If you look at the Cambridge carbon dating encyclopedia, it says that Egypt is more recent, according to carbon dating, than we have given it years. So this is the Cambridge Encyclopedia. So when you're asking me how am I correlating my information, I'm telling you that Abraham is during the time of Khufu, because if you look at the pyramid building, they had disasters in the beginning. Then all of a sudden, the next generations, they came. Do you see the pyramids? They wasn't even squared the right way. So when I'm telling you, you have somebody from a different civilization that came in and must have showed them either some form of arithmetic and some science. Go ahead.
So are you attempting to say that Asiatics came in and showed the Kemetians, right, Kushite building techniques? Because that's really a Kushite building technique. Count.
So where are they coming from, though? I'm telling you that their first trials and tribulations were flawed and faulted, that they must have received some information transferred from Sumer to how to build pyramids. Because the Joseph Step pyramid looks like a ziggurat. And Egyptians, listen, hold on.
It's the other way around.
Hold on. Now, the pre-dynastic Egypt is called archaic Egypt, or prehistoric Egypt, right? Which if you look up means antediluvian, means before the flood. According to Egypt, there was a flood.
Yeah.
Okay, now listen to this. But every other nation places the flood around 2500 BC. So if that's the case, then Egyptians' matsabas that are mud pyramids cannot be in existence today.
No. Hold on, wait. First, watch this.
I'm listening, brother.
First of all, the step pyramids aren't ziggurats. That's established that.
I didn't say it was a ziggurat.
You said the
It looks
ziggurats.
small.
It should be the